there is no decision on the part of, I mean, look, the South Africa, for example, apartheid. South Africa was subjected to sanctions by the United Nations. When the apartheid regime broke down, there was no resolution at the Security Council to lift, to get South Africa out of Chapter 7. The sanctions automatically was lifted because apartheid was defeated. The same thing with in the cases of countries that was under sanctions. Libya, for example, was under sanctions. Other countries also. So when they fulfilled the requirement, when they fulfilled the requirements stated the Security Council resolutions, automatically sanctions are lifted. In terms of Iraq, there is no sanctions. Iraq is free to import and export. There are certain areas, and I see the Iraqi ambassador here, so he's more well aware of the certain restrictions that some of these resolutions impose. But some of these restrictions are in favor of Iraq. For example, it safeguards, it protects Iraq's assets abroad from any claims. So to get out of the protective umbrella of Chapter 7 might open up all sorts of claims against Iraq assets. And in that sense, I think there are a significant amount of activities that Iraq, I think now can conduct without having the oversight of the United Nations. So in that sense, again, Kuwait is willing repeatedly to work with Iraq to help Iraq to fulfill these requirements so it would be declared as in full compliance and be free from any restrictions.
Right here. Senator.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Dave Pollack. I'm from the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. And I'd like to ask you about a comment that you made in your prepared remarks, where if I heard you correctly, you said that Kuwait and the GCC oppose the export of ideologies and cross-border incitement of citizens against their own governments. I'm guessing that perhaps you may have had Iran in mind, but I wonder if you could elaborate just a little bit about the specifics of that issue as you see it. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought that I put you to sleep when I was reading. Someone was killing. Well, it's not only Iran, actually. I mean, when you engage ideologues in foreign policy, you get into some dangerous waters. Foreign policy, foreign diplomacy is about mutual interests. Imposing one's own idea about or one value system on another by means of force, coercion, incitement, extortion is something of that's not the proper way of conducting foreign policy. We have sure the at one point Iran declared its policy of exporting its own brand of revolution, and we all oppose that. They're not doing that anymore. So that's but that kind of diplomacy brought about wars in the region, and you can make analogies of the kind. Ideologies is not only exporting ideologies is not only specific to Iran, but also if you look at our, not only in our region, but globally, you find countries trying to export ideologies, and that got the world in a very tense moment.
Molly?
Thank you. Molly Williamson. Dr. Mohammad, it's an honor that you're visiting. My question is about economics and the GCC. The GCC has spoken for some time about being interested in diversifying and trying to combine their talents and unify standards, unify requirements with respect to currency, tariffs, and customs. Can you share anything about GCC internal deliberations now about combining to make themselves more of a larger attractive market for international investment?
It's good seeing you, Molly, and I'm glad to talk about economics away a little bit from politics, but again, seeing what is taking place in Europe now with respect to Greece, one cannot escape politics from economic issues. We were very eager to fully implement, and to put on a fast track our economic agreement, the GCC, which is two-pronged. One is establishing the custom union, and the other is the common currency. Frankly, what happened to Europe gave us a pause. We looked at Greece, we look at the current, as they call it, the Greek drama unfolding, and we start now scratching our heads and say, what went wrong there? How can we learn from the mistakes that the European Union did, and how can we prevent similar things happening to us? So we are in a pause moment now. It's not that we are not serious, because we are serious. We don't want to jump into an arrangement that theoretically looks excellent on paper, but in putting it into practice produce some major economic dislocation. The currency issue, for example, whether the euro, for example, now is something that helped resolve the Greek problem, or is it intensifying the Greek financial crisis? You can see economists debating this issue on both sides of the aisle, and some of them are calling outright for Greece to exit the euro altogether, because the euro is representing a straitjacket to their ability to conduct monetary policy in a more flexible way. Those kind of concerns is what making us a little bit now hesitant to speed up the process. We want to learn from others. We cannot just ignore what is happening in the European community.